Hi, everybody. This is Dawn Block, Century 21 First Class Homes. I am here with my special guest, which I will be introducing in a little bit. But right now, what we're going to do is just give it a couple of moments to see if there's anybody that's online. If you're out there, if you're seeing this live, be sure to let me know that you're out there. It's always good to have a little bit of interaction. So if you're seeing this, put a thumbs up, put a like, put something in the comments below to let me know that you're watching. I have been doing these Facebook Lives. For those of you that don't know me, I have been doing these Facebook Lives for about a couple of years now. And what I like to do is I like to do things that are real estate related, so that if you have any questions about anything having to do with real estate, or even if it's related to real estate, I like to have those questions answered for you and bring those topics through a Facebook Live Q&A to you. So if you have any ideas or you want me to go over anything and bring that out to the public and let people know about it, please, you can private message me, you can text me, you can email me. So I think we have 5 more minutes. I see we've got a couple people on. So if you, we'll give it a couple more minutes before we start this Q&A. So have any of you seen any of my Q&As before? And if you have, put them in the comments below. And we'll give it a couple more minutes. 3 more minutes. We just want to see if anybody else comes on. Again, this is a live Q&A. I'm Dawn Block with Century 21 First Class Homes, and I have my special guest. He is Commissioner Dan Patlak with the Cook County Board of Review, and we're going to be going through some questions, frequently asked questions, so people will get a better understanding of the appeal process. All right, you know what? We're going to, I'm going to introduce our guest right now. This is Dan Patlak. He is the commissioner with the Cook County Board of Review. And Dan, if you wouldn't mind telling a little bit about yourself, that would be great.
Well, I am, as Dawn said, a commissioner at the Board of Review. The Board of Review is the office that reviews property assessment appeals. So if you think the assessment on your home or your commercial property is too high, you can file an appeal in our office. You can present evidence, and we will review the evidence. And if we agree with you that the assessment is too high, we will grant a reduction. I've been a commissioner since December of 2010. I'm a certified Illinois assessing officer. I, like Dawn, am a realtor, although I haven't sold real estate since 1992. So
wow,
it's been many years, but I
Wow.
still have my real estate license. I'm a graduate of the Real Estate Institute, and I'm very happy to be a commissioner at the Board of Review because I can help a lot of people get their taxes straight.
Definitely. There's a lot of people that don't realize that they can appeal their taxes. So this is what you're doing right now is a great service to a lot of people out there that will be listening to this, because it'll give them a better understanding of the appeal process. So why don't we, do you have contact information that you can give everybody to if they have any questions regarding the process?
Well, the best thing to do after you finish listening to this podcast to reinforce what we've said and to get answers to additional questions is go to a website we created about a year ago. It's my name, danpatlak.com, DANPATLAK, no dots, no dashes.com. And it's sort of a one-stop shop where people can get answers to all kinds of questions about property taxes, including questions about filing an appeal. If you have additional questions after looking at that website, we have the name of one of my employees, one of my top analysts named Rita Nelson, along with a phone number and her email address, and you can send any message with any question that you want.
Great. So how this all came about, just to kind of, before I start asking questions, is I had Connie Caroselli from the Elk Grove Township come out and do a Facebook Live Q&A about the appeals process. Now, Connie was the one that introduced me to Dan, and I wanted to bring I went to one of Dan's outreach. Oops. I went to one of Dan's outreach programs, which was something that I thought was very informational, and that is why I brought Dan here to do this Q&A. But just to kind of let you know, if you go to Dan's your site, and what was that site again?
danpatlak.com.
danpatlak.com. You said it's all one word.com. There are outreach programs that Dan will come, he goes on location. You can go, you can just show up, and you can go over, Dan will go over the appeal process with you.
Correct.
And actually there are 4 that were noted. One of them is at South Barrington, the village of South Barrington. That is being done October 28th at 6 p.m. There is another one at the Township of Lemont at 6 p.m. and that's October 30th. And that's a Wednesday. And then there's another one at the Glenview Park District at 6:30, and that'll be November 4th. And then on November 13th at 6:30, there is one at Northbrook, the Northbrook Village Hall. So those are 4 locations, 4 different times, but all you have to do is just show up, and there's some great information about the appeal process.
Right, and we'll have many more seminars coming up in Palatine, Schaumburg,
Okay.
Hanover. We've finished several of the other townships that are in the north side of Cook County, but for those of you in the north side, those are the ones that will be coming up in the future.
Awesome. And what I'll do is I'll post these in the comments after this Q&A, just so that you'll have it, and then you can decide if you'd like to attend. So right now, what we're going to do is we're going to start with our first question. A lot of people don't know the difference between an assessor and the Board of Review. And Dan, I'm sure you'll be able to help us out with that.
Happy to help out. So the Cook County Assessor's Office and the Cook County Board of Review are 2 completely separate offices. They're both county offices, but they have different responsibilities. The Cook County Assessor is responsible for assessing all 1.8 million parcels of property in Cook County. So every parcel of property in Cook County is assessed. There's a market value placed on it by the Cook County Assessor's Office. They have a couple other jobs they do. They administer all exemptions. So if you're filing for a homeowner exemption or a senior exemption, a senior freeze, that all goes through the Cook County Assessor, and they're the ones that decide whether or not you're going to get those exemptions.
Okay.
They also have a appeal process, and for people who live in the north suburban area that was just reassessed, all of those people would have already received a reassessment notice, and the reassessment notice would have said, if you disagree with our number, that is the assessor's number, you can file an appeal with our office. So some of those appeal times for going to the assessor have expired.
Okay.
Some are current, and people can still file. In any case, once you're done with the assessor's office, or if you want to skip the assessor's office, then you can come to my office. Our main job is to review all assessment appeals from aggrieved property owners who think the assessor got it wrong. You can submit evidence to our office, and we will review that evidence, and you can do it. Some townships are done already. We're done receiving appeals from them. But for those that are still open, they can file anytime, because we allow people to file from any township, even before the township opens for appeal. We call that pre-filing.
Where would you find the times that these open up, or the schedules for that?
You can go to my danpatlak.com website,
Okay.
and we have some frequently asked questions, and one of them is, when can I file my appeal?
Okay.
If you click on that, there'll be one for finding out the timing for the assessor's appeals and one for the timing for the Board of Review. Click on the Board of Review one. It'll show you the townships that have already opened and closed.
Okay.
It'll show you the ones that are currently open, and it'll show you the ones that have not yet opened. If they're currently open or not yet opened, that means you can file or pre-file, and you can do that by going to the Cook County Board of Review website to file your appeal, cookcountyboardofreview.com.
Okay. And who runs the Board of Review, and how busy are you over there?
Well,
that's kind of a silly question, because we know you're probably very busy over there.
The Board of Review is governed by 3 elected commissioners. Each commissioner represents 1/3 of Cook County by population. That means they represent 1.7 million people. They're separate geographic areas. My district is majority of suburban. About 95% of my district is suburban Cook County. And that includes almost all of the north suburban townships except for Evanston and Niles Township. But it also includes many of the western townships like Leiden, Proviso, and Lyons, and then many of the south suburban townships like Lemont, Palos, Worth, Orland, and parts of Rich, Bremen, Bloom, and I forgot the last one. But in any case, it's a big district. The way it works is that even though each commissioner represents a particular geographic area, every appeal that comes to the Board of Review is decided by an analyst who works for each of the three commissioners. In other words, every appeal is looked at by three different analysts, one for each commissioner. In order to get a reduction, two of the three analysts have to agree that a reduction is warranted.
For each household?
For each appeal.
Household.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Here, can you file more than one appeal?
Well, you can file one appeal each year at the assessor's office and then the Board of Review. And of course, if you own more than one property, you can file one appeal on each of the properties that you own.
Oh, okay. All right. And how do you actually file this appeal?
Well, if you're filing at the assessor's office, you would go to the Cook County Assessor's website, cookcountyassessor.com.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to file at the Board of Review, you go to cookcountyboardofreview.com. And when you go to our homepage, you'll see in big white letters, file your appeal. You click on it.
Yeah.
It will take you to a portal that's specially made for filing appeals. And in the upper left-hand corner, there will be two boxes. One will say file as a guest. I'm going to suggest to your listeners, there's no reason to file that way, so skip it.
Okay.
The other one says login/register. The login part is for someone who has filed in the past and created an account. If you've done that, you simply log in by putting your password.
Okay.
For most of your viewing audience, perhaps they haven't done that, so they're going to register an account. And what you do, you click on that box. It'll ask some simple questions about name, address, property index number. You fill it in. So as you're registering your account, you're also filing your appeal for your property. Once you've registered an account, that is an account that will be in existence for you and your property in perpetuity until you sell your property.
Oh, okay.
And so from then on in future years, if you want to file an appeal, you simply hit the login button, put in your password, and you can file your appeal that way. But in any case, when you're doing all this, as you're registering your account, you're also filing your appeal. Once you've completed doing that, an email will automatically be generated that confirms that your appeal has been filed and issues you a complaint number. That's the number that files your appeal from beginning to end.
Okay. All right. So when can I file an appeal? So are there specific times that you can file an appeal?
Well, the Board of Review this year opened earlier than it ever had in its history. Normally we open around August 1st.
Okay.
This year we opened July 1st.
What was the reason for that?
Well, an expected high number of appeals. We have had a record number of appeals for 4 years in a row. Last year we had 245,000 appeals.
Wow.
So we wanted to open earlier to accommodate the time it's going to take to adjudicate all the appeals, because we have to finish our job in time to get the tax bills issued.
Okay.
And so we decided to start earlier. In any case, if this year we started July 1st, next year maybe we won't start till August 1st. I don't know. But in any case, as soon as we start, anybody from any township that has a property they want to appeal can pre-file. So your township may not be open for that normal 30-day period that it's open, but even if it's not open, you can pre-file. And of course, once it does open, you have 30 more days to file that appeal. Once the last day has expired, it'll be too late.
Okay, so you can pre-file it with your township, is what you're saying?
You can pre-file your appeal whatever township your property happens to be in.
Okay.
You're not pre-filing with the township, you're pre-filing with the Cook County Board of Review.
Oh, okay. So would the process be different if somebody was in a different county, or would it be pretty much the same process? We're Cook County, but what I'm saying is, like, if there were people watching and they were from DuPage, would they go to their township?
First of all, you're not filing an appeal with the township. You're filing an appeal with the Cook County Board of Review.
Okay.
We open by township. So
Okay.
there are certain dates and deadlines when we open a township and when we close a township. Once we've closed the township, it's too late to appeal. As far as other counties, they have boards of review. You'd have to check with them to see what their
That's good.
protocol is.
All right. So make a note that if you're with another county, you should check with them to see what their protocol is.
Right.
All right. When, all right. How do you actually, yeah. So, how do you know if you're over assessed?
Well, there's a variety of different ways to know that or to figure it out. Most residential appeals that come to the Board of Review are filed based on what we call lack of uniformity.
Okay.
All that really means is that your house compared to other similar homes in your area is assessed higher. So if you want to determine that, you want to find homes that are similar to yours, in other words, that are uniform.
Okay.
So you want to make sure that you're comparing your home that are with other homes that are of the same property classification, in the same assessor's neighborhood code, similar age, similar construction style. You want their proximity to your house to be closer rather than farther away, and you want the square footage to be similar to your homes, not far away from your home. So if you have a 1,200 square foot home, it's a class 203, you want to compare to another class 203 home that's also 1,200 square feet, or at least close in square footage. The farther away you go, the less comparable it is, the less weight that we'll give it at the Board of Review.
So how many miles out would you go from your home? About a mile?
Well, I wouldn't go a mile out if I could help it. I would go and look for
Blocks.
homes that are similar to mine on my own block
Okay.
or the block across the street. Now, of course, if you can't find any homes that are similar, that are good to compare to, you could go farther and farther out. But the farther away the comparables are, the less weight they're going to be given at the Board of Review as a good comparable.
Okay.
So beyond looking for comparable homes, though, you want to find homes that are assessed per square foot lower than yours. So you want to figure out the assessment per square foot of your home. And the way you would do that is you would look at the building assessment. Now, the assessment is made up of two parts, the land assessment and the building assessment.
Mm-hmm.
You want to look at the building assessment part. You want to divide that by the building square footage. So building assessment divided building square footage gives you the assessment per square foot of living area.
Okay.
Once you've done that and established the assessment per square foot of living area, you want to go and do the same thing with other similar homes that are uniform.
Okay.
Uniform based on property classification, neighborhood code, age, construction style, square footage, and proximity. And once you've found those homes and you've figured out the assessment per square foot, what you would want to do is show us the homes that are uniform with yours that are assessed lower per square foot. That's called a lack of uniformity appeal. So that's one way to figure out if you're assessed higher or lower.
Now, when you say show you, are you saying that you should pull up like a listing from a multiple listing service, or what is the proof that you need?
Well, you want to pull up this information on the Cook County Assessor's website,
Okay.
and you can do your calculations based on the assessments that are shown and the other data, like the property classification, like the neighborhood code, like the square footage, like the proximity, like the property construction style, and the age.
Okay. All right. So if somebody feels that they're overassessed, they can go ahead and do this research and provide that to you. Is that the only thing that you look at? I mean, as far as
No.
are there different other ways that you look at it?
You could file an appeal based on market value. So,
Okay.
for instance, the assessor might have all the property of a similar type in a particular area assessed uniformly, but it might be assessed uniformly high. So he places a market value on every property. If the assessor says that your house is worth $400,000, but you know based on sales data that the house isn't worth $400,000, it's only worth $350,000, you might want to give us data on homes like yours that have sold for less than what the assessor says your home is worth. And by sold for less, I mean sold in the last year or two, not sold 10 years ago, of
Okay.
course.
I would say even a year or two would be like when I work up a comparative market analysis. I do like 6 months, but I guess you're going to have to go out a little bit further.
Yeah, I mean, the more recent, the better.
The better,
But
yes.
we'll look at sales a year or two old.
Oh, okay, all right. So that's by the market. You said, is there another way that you?
Yeah, there's another way, and this would be good for a lot of your clients. If you've purchased your home within the last 3 years and it's an arm's length transaction,
Mhm.
and by that I mean it wasn't a short sale, it wasn't a foreclosure, and it's not between relatives, an arm's length transaction,
Mhm.
we can take the purchase price to help us determine what the assessed value should be. So, for instance, let's say the assessor says your house is worth $400,000.
Okay.
But you bought it a year and a half ago for $350,000. We can take that $350,000 purchase price, multiply it by the assessment rate that is used for residential properties.
Okay.
We would take $350,000, multiply it by 10%, and we would say that your assessed value should be $35,000. Whereas if the assessor says your house was worth $400,000, he'd have you at an assessed value of $40,000. So we can drop you from $40,000 down to $35,000.
Okay.
The evidence that you'd want to give us for that is your closing statement,
Oh, okay.
along with an affidavit that says that this was an arm's length transaction, not a foreclosure, not a short sale, and not between relatives. So that's
is
the
there
evidence.
a form that you fill out?
There's
or
no
is it
form. Just give us your
just a-
affidavits and give us your closing statement.
Oh, okay.
And by the way, for a market value appeal, good evidence would be an appraisal.
Okay. An appraisal.
Or,
Do you have to get an appraiser, an actual appraiser?
Yeah, that's an appraisal.
Okay,
Right, yeah.
appraisal.
or if you give us sales data on homes that have recently sold like yours, a person could get that from you.
Right,
You're a
exactly.
realtor.
Mm-hmm.
You can print that up from the multiple listing service, or you can go to your local township assessor and they have sales data on homes sold in their townships.
Okay, well, that's very good to know. So if there's anybody out there that wants to get some comparables pulled on their property, I'd be happy to help you out.
Right.
So, and are those all the ways, or is there
No, there's
one
more.
more?
There's more.
There's more.
Yeah. So suppose the assessor has made an error in the description of your home. For us at the Board of Review, while the assessor has a lot of data on your house,
Mhm.
the most important piece of data he has from our perspective is the living square footage.
Okay.
The reason for that is if, let's say your house is 1,000 square feet. I mean, really 1,000 square
Okay.
feet. But the assessor says it's 1,500 square feet. You're probably paying too much on the building portion of your assessment.
Right.
So you could come to the Board of Review and say, hey, Board of Review, the assessor says my house is 1,500 square feet, but it's really 1,000.
Okay.
And if you can prove to us that it's really 1,000, we can reduce your assessment accordingly. So the evidence you need for that, first of all, I would say give us all the evidence you can. Don't depend on only one thing.
Okay.
But let me give you some examples. A plat of survey could be good. An appraisal, the architect's drawings. You could give
Floor plans? You mean would
Yeah.
floor plans be? Because I know drawings and floor plans
floor
are.
plans from an architect, but
Okay.
if you're talking floor plans from a builder, we don't give that as much weight. 'Cause
So
builders'
you're
floor
talking
plans-
blueprints?
Yeah.
The blueprints.
Architect's
Okay.
drawings, right,
All right.
exactly. If you can get an architect to come and inspect and measure your home and write us a letter on his letterhead testifying to what the real square footage is, we would consider that to be
Oh,
expert testimony.
okay.
Sometimes photographs of some or all portions of the exterior, interior of the home can help us determine square footage
They'll
as
be
well.
able to see that with the picture?
Well, the picture can help along with other evidence.
Okay.
Because there are parts of homes that aren't part of the living square footage. For instance, we don't count the attached garage as living square footage. We don't count the basement. We don't count a lower level family room that's below ground.
So a split level, that lower level, the steps that go down, that's not counted.
As long as it's below grade, it's not counted as living square footage.
Okay.
It does add value to the home, but it's not part of the living square footage. If you have a 2-story foyer, we would not count the second story of that 2-story foyer because it's empty area. It's not
Right.
living space.
Okay.
If you have what some people call a 3-season room, it might be added onto the back or the side of the home. You use it in the spring, the summer, and the fall, but it's not heated. It shouldn't be counted as living square footage. Maybe you have an attic that's unfinished and unheated. That shouldn't be counted.
Now, do decks, there's a deck attached to your house, does that add any square footage?
It doesn't add any square footage. It might add some value, but you wouldn't count it as part of the living square footage. So all those portions should not be counted, and sometimes the assessor can make a mistake. They may look at a house from the outside and they might count the attic. They might count that 3-season room. They might count the second story of a 2-story foyer, or the second story of a 2-story living room or family room. So those are all areas that the assessor can make a mistake. So if you think the square footage is wrong, come to us, provide us with good solid evidence, and we can potentially adjust your assessment accordingly.
Okay. Do you see that they make a lot of mistakes?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
A lot of mistakes.
Okay.
And by the way, if in fact there's a mistake, for instance, in the living square footage, and we agree with that a mistake has been made, we'll adjust your assessment, but we can't change the assessor's records. So it's up to the property owner to go to the assessor and present the evidence to get them to change the record. Otherwise, they may be back the next year.
Good. Okay, that's great information.
But also, if they can convince the assessor that an error has been made, and that error has been in effect going back 3 years or more, what the assessor will allow you to do, if you convince him that he's made an error, is to file what's called a certificate of error.
Yes.
And you can get a refund for the mistake that the assessor made going back 3 years for the amount you paid over and above what you should have paid. Had the square footage been wrong, you can get a refund on what you paid that was too high.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that is good, because I didn't know that. So we've talked about the different ways of how you can confront. Is there anything else that you need to bring up?
Well, there's one more reason that you might file an appeal.
Okay.
It's called vacancy. So if the house goes vacant for a period of time because it's unlivable, due to no fault of the homeowner, we can grant a vacancy on the building portion of the assessment. So let me give you an example of what might happen. Perhaps you have a fire. As a result of the fire, the house is not livable anymore. You have to spend your time settling with the insurance company. You have to sign an agreement with a contractor to fix up the house. Maybe you're out of the house for 90 or 120 days. We can grant a vacancy for that time period. The only thing is, you have to give us evidence. We're not going to just believe you if you make that claim.
What evidence would you need?
Well, first of all, give us all you've got. But good evidence for a fire would be a fire marshal's report, or the insurance paperwork, or the agreement that you signed with a contractor to fix the house. Photographs of the interior and exterior damage to the house would be good evidence. Maybe you got a letter from the village saying we are pulling your occupancy permit. You may no longer legally live in that home. That would be good evidence that you had to move out.
Yes.
And then what we'd like, if possible, is a letter, the subsequent letter you're going to get from the village saying we are restoring your occupancy permit. You may move back in. That way we know that you had to be out on this date and you were able to return on a subsequent date. Exactly.
All right. Well, that's great. I would have never thought of that. That is good.
Well, and vacancy does not, it's not only if you have a fire. If your house got hit by a tornado and it took out a wall, that would be a reason.
So natural
disaster.
Okay.
Right. Maybe you've got mold in the basement. The mold comes up the ductwork and makes everyone in the house sick. That would be a reason to apply for vacancy. So it can be a variety of different things. So we once had someone apply for vacancy. They lived nearby a local airport and a plane crashed into the roof of their house.
Oh, God.
You know?
Yeah.
We once had someone apply for vacancy where they had an underground river that caused the foundation to crack. The village pulled their occupancy permit because the village was worried the foundation was going to move further and rupture the gas lines and the house was going to explode.
Geez.
So
that would be a reason why.
We once had a person file for vacancy because some drunk guy drove their car into the living room.
Oh, boy.
So
well, these are all good reasons.
That's right.
God forbid if it does happen, but they're good reasons.
Yeah.
So is that the last?
That's the last one. Yeah.
All right. So you know what I was going to ask you is, what about, a lot of people forget, and it's important, like they're homeowners and they don't file their exemptions.
Yeah.
So I wanted you to go over a little bit of the exemptions that are out there,
Sure.
when you should file it. For instance, your homeowner's exemption. Obviously, you have to be the primary residence of your home. And what happens if you, being the primary resident, you buy the house, but you forget to file for that exemption?
Well, much like the error in the square footage of the property, if you forget to file for the homeowner exemption or for any other exemption, the senior freeze, the assessor will allow you to go back 3 years and file certificates of error. You can get a refund for any of those 3 years in which you did not get your exemption. My suggestion is when you buy your house, the following
right away.
January, you file for that exemption with the Cook County assessor, and same thing with the senior exemption. As soon as you're eligible, the following January, go to the Cook County assessor and file for it.
Now, it's my understanding that with the senior exemption, that you don't have to keep refiling for that exemption?
That's actually some legislation that just was signed by the governor about a month ago. It used to be that you did have to renew every year, but now, starting this upcoming January, well, first of all, if you're already getting it, you do not have to file now to renew it.
Okay.
And if you don't have it yet, but you're going to file in January, let's say, to get it, once you've done that, it should renew automatically every year. However, I would suggest to every homeowner that you look at your second installment tax bill every year, because that's the tax bill that reflects any exemptions that you're supposed to get. And on that tax bill, it should say homeowner exemption. And it'll say the dollar amount that you're going to save on that homeowner exemption. Right. If it says 0.00, even if you've been getting it for the last 20 years, that means you didn't get it that year.
Oh.
Don't pay the bill. Instead, go to the Cook County assessor, bring with you your driver's license to show that you live at that address.
Right.
And they will issue you a new tax bill, so that you don't want to pay, because if you pay, then you have to go through the certificate of error process and get a refund, and that takes a long time. You want to get it corrected the first time. Right.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's great information. Now, are there any for like a senior? What are the stipulations to getting that senior exemption?
Well, for the senior exemption, you have to be 65 years of age or older some time during the tax year in question. So, for instance, to have gotten the exemption to get it for the 2019 tax bill,
okay,
you have to be at least 65 or older during 2019. Now, nobody's going to get their 2019 tax bill until next year in 2020. You're going to get your second installment bill around February 1st, but that doesn't reflect the exemption. That's your first installment.
Okay.
You're going to get your second installment bill around July 1st. That should reflect the exemption. So you should have applied for it previously. For your 2019 bill, you want to usually, if you're applying for it for the first time, you're going to apply for it in January of 2020. If it's one that's simply renewing, you don't have to apply for it again. That's worth $8,000 in equalized assessed value, not tax dollars, but EAV.
Okay.
To figure out the value of that, you simply take the $8,000 in EAV, and you multiply it by your tax rate, and that'll tell you what you're saving. Now, everyone should know that if there are two owners, for instance, a married couple,
right,
only one person has to be 65.
Oh, okay.
So not both, only one.
So whoever's older.
Right. There's another exemption, though, that seniors can be eligible for, and that's the senior freeze. They recently changed the rules for that. It used to be that there's an income cap.
Okay.
It used to be that you couldn't make more than $55,000 a year. Now that that's been increased to $65,000. So
Okay.
you can make up to $65,000. That would be all income. So that counts if you have a regular job, Social Security, pension, sale of stock, or any other income coming into that home, including anybody else that lives there.
Your children, if they're
Yeah.
living,
So
it includes your kids.
It includes, if you have a 25-year-old son who is an accountant and he makes $50,000 a year, and between you and your spouse, you only make $25,000 in Social Security, then you're over that $65,000 limit, and you wouldn't be eligible.
Really?
Really?
Your kids? Okay, everybody's
Yeah.
out of the house
Your
in my
kids,
house.
that's
Time
right.
to get out.
So your generosity can cost you
Cost you-
something.
yeah, oh, I didn't know that your kids are included in that. I thought it was just my husband and myself.
It's anybody that lives in the home.
Oh, man.
It could be your mother that's moved in with you. You're 65 and your mother's 95 and she's getting 20,000 a year in Social Security, and
That could affect it.
that could affect it, right? Or it could be if you're renting a room in your house, that person's income counts as well.
Really? You're renting a room?
Yep, it's everybody's income.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good information. That was great to know. I mean,
Sure.
if anybody doesn't, if you don't understand anything, I mean, you can take away something from this Facebook Live. I didn't know that. I really didn't. So my kids will be getting out of my house. No, I'll be kidding. I think is there anything else that we really need to bring up? I mean, I think we've hit all the exemptions. Or is there something else on fixed?
Well, there are several other exemptions. If you want to learn more about more exemptions, go to my website, danpatlak.com. I'm recommending it because it's an excellent website. It's a one-stop shop, and you can learn a lot. And everything that I've said here today, you can find on that website.
Now, is it user-friendly? Because sometimes you go into those websites, and it's like...
It's easy.
It's easy.
And
That's what we like.
By the way, it's got... Half the website is videos of me giving presentations or answering single questions. The other half of the website are common questions that people ask. You click on them, and it'll either give you the answer or it will take you to the website, the exact spot on the website that will give you the answer.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
So again, what was that website for our viewers?
danpatlak.com.
Okay, excellent. So DAN?
PATLAK.com.
All right, awesome. So be sure to, if you're wanting to review any of the things that we've talked about today, definitely go to that website. We've been told that it's user-friendly, and you'll get all of your questions answered there. Plus, I do believe you have a contact person that is on that website also. Do you want to let...
Well, her name is Namrita Nelson, and her contact information is on the website.
So that's Namrita Nelson, and you can look for her information on there. If you have any questions, you can contact her with regards to any of your questions that you may have regarding what we talked today, or if you just have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact her. Dan, do you have anything else that we need to touch on?
I think that's it.
That's it. I think we've done everything that anything that has come up. I didn't see anything pop up, but I know sometimes what happens is after we get through these Facebook Lives, generally questions do pop up. And if they do, don't hesitate. If you want to just put them in the comments below or go straight to Dan's website, you can do that. But if you do have any questions that you've already inserted in the comments, I will make sure that we get the questions answered for you, and I will make sure that we post them on, post them back on. I'll get your questions put back into the feed to let you know what they are. I'm going to post the dates. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to post the dates that Dan has for the seminars that he has in the four time slots. So again, all you need to do is show up. So take advantage of it. You can review, because I know sometimes it's a lot of information and you kind of need to get a little bit of a refresher. So if you feel that you want to get a refresher, you can attend one of these seminars. And Dan, you are also saying that there are other seminars to be scheduled in the future.
There will be plenty coming up.
Awesome.
All over Cook County, actually.
Awesome. So Dan, I want to thank you so much for joining me on this Facebook Live. It's been a lot of information, and I think it's all good stuff, and I think people are going to really take heed to what you have said.
It's been a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Dan, would you be so kind as to give your contact information one more time to our guests?
Well, just go to danpatlak.com and you can contact us.
Okay, awesome. So again, you guys, we're going to be signing off. I want to thank you for joining us to this Facebook Live. If you have any questions, again, you can put your comments in the feed of this video, or you can go to Dan's website, danpatlak.com, and get your questions answered. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Everybody have a great evening, and be on the lookout for another Q&A coming up next month. Just if you have any ideas that you want me to suggest, please don't hesitate to contact me through email, text, or just instant message me. Again, thank you for joining us. Have a great evening. Bye-bye. Oops. Here.
All
I
right,
think that's good.
great.
Thank you.
Welcome. I think that went well.
I think it did too.